Hey folks, we're in the shop today, or my garage, and we are starting to make our first improvements to Ohana, our 2023 Ford Bronco. And there's one thing on this Bronco that relates to the Jeep as far as things that I don't like. In fact, 3 of the last Jeeps that I've had I didn't like because they did not have a hood lift. If you open this hood, it's got the old pull down hood latch holder, and I've always wanted to add the lift on there so that I didn't have to mess with that. I could just pop the hood and it would lift up and hold itself open and not have a stick in the way of working on the engine. Now I'm hoping that we don't have to work on this engine, but eventually, whether I'm doing improvements or, you know, the worst case scenario, if I'm actually working on an engine somewhere in the middle of nowhere or in the garage, I don't have that in the way. So thankfully, what I learned recently after purchasing this Bronco is that much like everybody else, Ford has their own version of points. So we got a considerable amount of points from Ford to after purchasing this Bronco. So I purchased a hood lift from them through the Ford Racing, or Ford Performance, excuse me. So I got it for free, basically, or for the cost of the Bronco anyway. I had enough to purchase the hood kit and one other thing that we'll get to here shortly. But we're going to start with the hood kit because literally this looks like it should take about 6 minutes. So we're going to find out right now. So let's get into it. Okay, so you see what I'm talking about. In order to hold this hood up, this has got to go up in here, and it's wide open, and you can work under the engine. But you don't want that there. That is kind of in the way. So we're going to eliminate that by putting on this kit. So this kit is going to attach over here on each corner of the hood, and we'll lift it up just like any other car that you would purchase that typically has a lift. So I think Ford, much like Jeep, is cutting costs on this, so they don't have that option, but we do have the aftermarket version, so we're going to go for it. Okay, so the hardware involved here are literally a small bracket and this little nub thing here. I know that's not technical terms for it, but that's all it is. Your arm's going to go down here. This is going to go into this hole here. Screw them or tighten them down, and that is it. All you need is a 13mm socket. In my case, I'm going to use 2 because it's going to take a deep socket to get past the nub to tighten this down. But you can get a standard one, short one back here to get this bracket off. And we're going to use the same bolt. Just slide it back in here, tighten them down. Do it on both sides and hook up the hydraulic rods. So it should be that simple. Alright, so we're literally going to slide that in like so. Pull it forward as much as possible as you tighten it. Put a little pressure on it, pull on it, and then spin it and make sure before you tighten it, as far forward as you can get it. Tighten it down. Again, you don't need such a mammoth tool for this. Don't overdo it with something like this. Hopefully you've got, you know where all your tools are. That's it. That's on. Part 2. So again, on these, the nub's going to go in towards the cab. I'm going to take this bolt out first. loop it through and put it right back where we found it. Easier said than done when you get all this stuff in the way. Check. Yeah, I'm gonna have to loosen that wire up just to get this to clear, but we can get it started. Okay. There's enough play there for sure. Sure that's flat against there. And with that done, we move to the other side. I'm not entirely sure why, but these bolts are really long for what they're doing. So it's going to take a minute to get these out. Once the bolt's out, it's simply just repeating the process of what you just did over on the other side. And it shouldn't be that difficult. However, sometimes things don't go as planned. That's not good. Okay. That's not good at all. You don't want to do that. The gap between the frame and the fender flare, or fender well, I should say, is there, and I just pushed the bolt, as you might have heard, down into this fender. So now we got to figure out how to get into the fender. Please hold. So unexpected circumstances is making me learn a little bit more about the Bronco than I anticipated today. I did just learn how to take off the fender flare. Not difficult, like they said. They're held true to their word. But what I've got to do is get into this actual felt inner liner to find that bolt. So it looks like it's just going to be a screwdriver to get the remainder of these clips. I'm hoping I can just loosen one or two of these up, pull it out, get the bolt, and then we'll finish putting this in and then put the fender flare back together. So hopefully it's that easy. Nothing ever goes right. Of course, it wouldn't be fun if it did, so whatever. All right, let's go. Okay, I said it, and I'm not joking. You do not want to do that. Stuff a rag or something back there before you do this, because what I had to do is literally take over half of the screws that hold this fender cover in here, plus the fender flare, obviously. And I thought it had just come down into here and landed on this felt and stopped because I didn't hear it rattle. And I don't know if you heard it on the camera or not, but it didn't rattle. So I spent 10-15 minutes looking for this. This is not a small bolt to lose, but what it actually did do, came down, bounced off the felt, and it ended up clear down here in front of the door. I can just barely get my hand stuffed back there to find it. It was tucked right about in there. So don't do that. Don't drop this bolt. Took a project that should have taken 10 minutes to do the entire thing and turned it into an hour-long process. So be very careful and don't lose this. I'm going to put this together before I put this back together just to make sure, because we don't want to do that again. So let's finish project number 1 and then we'll come to number 2. I don't even know where it was at. Okay, there's this. There's this. Slide that in like that. Don't drop it this time. Okay, now the upper part. There we go. All right, all we should have to do now is gently rock that on, just like that. We want the fat side up. I'm going to spin this. And hopefully, it's not really going to end our day today with dropping the hood on us, but should be able to just hook it up like that, and we'll do the other side too. And we'll do this other side like that, and this is done. Let's see how it works. Okay, well now that we've got these hood struts on, it actually does raise the hood up quite a bit. If you remember, that angle was clear down here before we had these on, so it actually gives you more room to work on this, even more than I thought, which is really awesome. And they look good too. I really like the look of them. You can buy a lot cheaper versions of these. These ones are, again, Ford Performance. And Ford Performance, anything they put their name on is going to be way more than it's really worth. But I did get them for free again. That's why I have these. You can get these from $80 up to $150. These from Ford, I believe, were about $130. So you have options out there, and by all means take advantage of it. But like I said, I could get these ones for free, and so I did. And now we'll try and see how well they work. Oh yeah. Yeah, that is so nice. Well, that is project number 1. Project 1.2 is to put this fender back together, and then I'll show you what project 2 is. So stay tuned for that. All right, so I got the other fender back together. All is well. Wasn't that difficult, just inconvenient. I did mention we had a second project. And the second project is much like a Jeep. I know I keep comparing this thing to the Jeep. I know it's not, but they have similar issues, or whatever. Project number 2 are door sill protections. Now on the Jeeps I've had in the past, I would put like a stainless steel protector on these just to protect the paint from people walking in and stepping on things. Where my long legs, I don't usually step on these things, but once this is lifted, it's harder to get into. It's going to happen. People are going to put their feet in places that you don't necessarily want them. So these Tuff Skinz will help protect that paint. So we're going to install those on all 4 doors, and then we'll be happy. And once again, I will mention that with those Ford points, I did get these for free as well. So, I mean, free, again, is a relative term. I did spend a bunch of money on this Bronco, but I'm using these points that they gave us to take advantage of it. I was going to buy these anyway. I was going to buy the hood struts anyway. So I'm just ecstatic that I got it for free. So I'll take it. So anyway, enough of that garbage. Let's put these things on and get it protected. Okay, so I said this on the last project, but this one should be fairly easy as well. Literally, these are just a sticker. And I'm kind of deciding where I want to put this. There's actually some pinch points here where they've actually made this seam, because I popped up this plastic, because this is going to actually wrap up this a little ways and tuck underneath this plastic. And I'm visually seeing where people are actually more than likely going to step. It's your preference on where you want to put them. You can center them if you want. And my thoughts are these doors are going to be on 99% of the time. So more than likely, if a foot's going to come in here, it's going to be somewhere right in here. So I'm going to probably line that up right there with that last little pinch, this little circle here. So that's what I'm going to do, and I'm going to lay that just on that edge and roll it down, and it'll come down this lip of the sill. So I have a mixture of 50% water and 50% isopropyl alcohol, which is what Tuff Skinz recommends to clean the surface, and then you immediately wipe it off. So that is our first step, cleaning this up and get it prepped. They do tell you that you need to be installing these between 70 degrees and 110 degrees. It is a beautiful fall day today, and we're above 70, so we are good. So, like I said, we wipe that alcohol water mixture on and immediately wipe it off dry. And it smells so good. And then we're going to take this, since I've already done a test fit, I know where I want it. See exactly how tough this is to get off. It does recommend that if you are maybe in a colder day, you use a hair dryer to warm it up, to get it to that 70 degrees, but not a heat gun. They do tell you not to use a heat gun, so don't be doing that. Set that aside, and I'm going to probably block the view for just a moment here. But I'm just going to line it up at the top of that metal, and I'm going to try and keep my fingers off of it. And what I'm going to try and do is work that down. Keep any bubbles out of it. And run my fingers down it. Make sure they have a nice tight fit. You can get different styles of these. This one in particular says Badland. I am more than likely going to remove the Badlands stickers off to the side. Don't know if it's going to be permanent or not, so I chose to go with these. They have a really nice version with the Bronco logo on it that we kind of liked at first. But where I'm going to probably take those stickers off the side and put the old-fashioned Bronco lettering on that I like so much. I'll probably at least have these on here in case I don't put that sticker back on. I can replace that sticker. To be honest, I'm a little bit cheesed that it's such a cheap sticker and that Ford couldn't put it on straight on the one side. One side of the car, it's a little bit awkward. So it's a little bit annoying and irksome to me. So it's just a personal preference. You know, whatever. But again, it is what it is. To each their own. That just snaps back into place, tucks into there. I like that. So we'll move on to the other doors. This process is the same for every door. And again, you can line these things up where you want. Honestly, in between that molded traction in the center, if you center it up on that, it looks the best. I adjusted this basically where I figured that the actual shoes were going to go, so it's not quite center of that like it probably should have been, but I prefer to get it where I knew the shoes were going to be actually touching the paint. So mine's not quite exactly as centered as maybe it should be, but either way, put it where you want, center it up, or move it slightly forward like I did. It's up to you, but the process is going to be the same for all 4 doors. It really isn't tough, but it's totally worth it to save your paint. All right, so those are the projects for the day. Project 1 and 2 are complete. They're 2 very easy things to do as long as you don't drop a bolt down the fender. Well, it should be fairly simple for you. Do them any way you want. The struts I found on Ford Performance, again, I got those for free thanks to the points that I got for purchasing the Bronco. But you can get those ones in particular for $130. I've seen other manufacturers offer them for closer to $88, $90. The door sills are between $40 and $60 if I remember right from Ford. I'm sure you can find them in other places as well. But like I said, these are fairly simple things that aren't always necessary, but to me they are. I want that door sill protection, and I've always wanted to be able to just pop my hood open and access the engine bay without having a stick in my way. So I know it's stupid, but I am excited about having that, even though it's a very rare thing that I'll ever really need just when I'm checking the oil or doing work, running wiring or whatever. It's just that much better in my opinion. So I'm happy with it. And I just wanted to show that to you guys. So thanks for being here in the shop with me, and tune in next time to see what kind of crazy antics I'm up to. Until then, have a good, safe week.